This episode of UK Low Carb Podcast is sponsored by Deliciously Guilt-Free. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to UK Low Carb. I'm your host, Dan Grief, and this is a podcast where we share different people's stories to help build the low carb and keto community, not just here in the UK, but around the world. Now, as I said, my name's Dan Grief, and I believe that change comes from grassroots movements around the world. And if we can really pull together and share the stories of people just like you and I who have embraced low carb and keto, then we can inspire change in the world by changing people's habits, but also helping people to understand better the food they put in their mouths. Now, before I start the show, I'd normally go into review, and I just want to say this is a good chance, I think, to ask for you to do something for me, if that's possible. If you enjoy this show, if you think that it's this kind of show you would want to recommend to other people, then please can you leave a review? It'd be amazing. It would mean all the world to me personally, but also it'd be a great way to try and get the algorithm gods to try to get this show out to more people. So the more reviews we have, the better. And it also means that we kind of just get to know each other a little bit more as well. So some people have reviewed in the past. I've then managed to then have a conversation with them and they've then come onto the show. So that's also a great introduction if you're interested in sharing your story. So UK Low Carb is on Facebook. It's on, of course, YouTube now. And of course, the most important one is Apple Podcasts, because that way we get it out to more people's ears. Okay, before I go into today's show with Mark, I'll just give you a little bit of an introduction to him. So Mark Brereton is a really amazing guy, and he agreed to do this conversation with me just a couple of weeks ago now. Mark runs the Keto Fitness Club with his children, Ella and Toby. They're a wonderful family, and I think the thing about Mark's story that I really love is somebody who comes from a very normal background. I can relate to a lot of what he told me. Somebody who didn't prioritize his health. He had some ups and downs in his life. He then decided to change that into being a really healthy guy, about learning about keto. That kind of came after he decided to embrace exercise. And now he then takes that mission and message out into the world. He's a really decent bloke, and I think you're going to really enjoy this. If you don't follow the Keto Fitness Club, I suggest you do. It's really a great resource, and he's always doing things in there in his kitchen. As he told me, he's only got one kitchen. He hasn't got a kitchen set that he uses. It's his real kitchen in his home, and he brings you into the very heart of his home with his family to show you how keto can not only be delicious and nutritious, didn't mean to make that rhyme, but it did, but also it can be very everyday and normal. It doesn't have to be something special. And he shows you how to access keto and how to live a really healthy lifestyle. And his mission is to help people to not have to depend on him, but to be able to be independent to follow keto themselves. So it very much chimes with the message of what this show is all about. I'll now hand over to Mark Brereton. Just want to say, have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll see you next week. Now over to Mark and Keto Fitness Club. Now, I'm joined by Mark Brereton, and he is from the Keto Fitness Club. He's somebody I wanted to get on the podcast for a long time, so it's a real privilege to have you here today, mate. Welcome to UK Low Carb.
Thank you very much, Dan. It's great to be here.
Yeah,
and finally meet you. I've listened to many of your podcasts.
And I've watched your channel, so it's like the meeting of minds here, it really is. And it's also great to see your kitchen, because this is where the magic happens, right? So for those who are like listening and not viewing this, I can actually see Mark standing in his kitchen. He's got all the things behind him, and this is the actual one you do your YouTube in, right?
Well, it's the only kitchen I have. It's the only house I have.
You're not in Miliband. You've only got one kitchen. Fair enough.
I don't have a display kitchen somewhere. I'm not like Thomas, who has a setup kitchen somewhere. We literally...
I do know. Actually, I'm not going to be careful what I say here. We have had some guests in the past who do have a set kitchen, literally for podcasting and recording. Yeah, it doesn't happen.
I totally get it, and the idea of having a studio kitchen is amazing. That's brilliant, because then I don't have to do it all from home. But we do literally do it all from home. Myself and Ella spend the best part of 14 hours a day in this kitchen, on various sort of Zooms and calls and whatever.
Brilliant.
And later on, so you can see behind me just there's a whole sort of counter of food. So later on this afternoon, we're doing a cooking event. So, everything, I'm either in here or I'm in the PT room.
Right.
And I commute between the two on a regular basis, sort of on a daily, on an hourly basis. I do a PT session and I'll come back here.
So this was all in place before the lockdowns and everything, right? So were you doing it here or not?
There's obviously the Zooms weren't. No, the Zooms were something that I'd sort of was used to using a bit of Zoom for a bit of networking, but it was something new to most people. So most of the groups that we've got, most people had never used Zoom before. So when we suggested let's have a chat on Zoom, because we were doing the workshops out in the real world, we were going around the country doing our workshops. And when obviously that got closed down, it's like, okay, so people were asking for the information, but how do we get it? How do we get it to you? So we just started to use Zoom, and now. Within what we do, Keto Fitness Club, we sort of do about 20 to 30 hours with the Zooms a week now. Probably more, actually, thinking about it.
Incredible. And as lockdown ends, do you think, and I know we've got a lot of story to get through, but I think it's good to start with where we are at the moment. Do you think you're going to carry on in that way, or would life go back to something like it was before?
No, life will just get more complicated. But, Zoom on the road. No, we know now, and it's a big impact. It's a big issue within within most of us, is this being part of a community. Being part of people that are thinking, likewise in the way that they think.
Yeah.
It's very hard to go and talk to your friend who doesn't understand why you're doing maybe keto low carb, why you're doing it, to then talk about maybe some things that you're not quite sure about. So the Zooms that we do are about building the community side of it, but building the confidence.
Right.
Confidence that you can do this. You can do this. I can't do it for you. I can help you. We can support you. We can give you some recipes, but you need to be comfortable with you following this lifestyle. So the research that comes into it, we talk a lot about the PhD going and watching their information on like the medical side of it. And we just focus on the food side of it and try to get people to, again, we've lost the skill in the kitchen. We've lost the connection with the kitchen. It's why I actually quite like working in my kitchen now, because that's my background. I was trained in a kitchen. That's, my first career was as a chef. So now to actually use those skills to help people understand how they can make their own food and get away from this whole idea that food comes in a packet with a label on it.
Yeah. You know what? It's been a few generations to happen, but I think it's very ingrained with a lot of people now that is what food is. In fact, there's two guys I know who are in my local gym, but they've been friends with my wife and I for a decade now or so, a lovely couple. And they go to the gym, they work out, they're super fit guys, and yet they'll talk about sometimes they just eat microwave meals. And I'm like, whoa, you do the work in the gym, you've obviously got good body form, but actually my worry is that long term, what you're eating is going to cause you a massive problem, and you're not even going to realize, because you're going to look fit and healthy and muscular without realizing the damage you're doing.
I mean, I'm reading currently Robert Lustig's new book, Metabolical.
Oh, wow.
Oh, reading, listening. I prefer to listen, but I've got the book as well.
That's how I do it. I'm definitely an audible person, but at the same time, I tend to also like to, if I can get a copy of the book, to then write notes and whatnot,
And obviously, again, he'll talk a lot about the processed food and the idea that you don't have to be big, you don't have to be heavy, you don't have to be overweight to be unhealthy.
Yes.
Now, yes, predominantly a lot of us are, and I'll hold my hand up. I was, at an unhealthy weight for a good 20 years. And I just ignored the signs that I was also potentially getting quite sick. Yeah. So I was getting to the point where if I'd have actually gone to the doctors, and as males, we avoid going to the doctors.
Yeah, we don't go there, do we?
Anywhere that involves anything like that. But had I gone for a blood test, they'd have diagnosed me as a diabetic.
So let's go through that story, because I think this is really important. And just before you get started, because I've heard it before when we've been chatting, I kind of think, if anything, your story is one of hope. You're somebody who, if you don't mind me saying, is a normal bloke like me and the rest of us who's transformed his life. And not only that, but taking it to a level where you're helping other people. And I think that's the inspirational part. But it's the hope as well that you can be in a place where you're not happy, and you can then make the decision to change that completely through education and empowering yourself. Yeah. Is that a fair description of your life story?
It is fair, yeah. I mean, I'll take you back 10 years ago when I was at my heaviest weight. having never exercised or not exercised since probably my late teens, early 20s, if I was lucky, because I went into business. I've worked for myself since the age of 22. And as we've just been talking about, when you have a business, everything else seems to sort of take a back seat because the business takes over most of your life.
And even basic things like sleeping and the regular routine of your eating is completely like negotiable and quite often gets cut back on, doesn't it?
I mean, sometimes the shower, you think, well, I should have had a shower 6 hours ago, but I've still got stuff to do. And I've just finished finished a PT session. He's like, no one wants to sit next to me while I'm smelling like this. Go and have a shower.
But I could be more productive.
yeah, exactly. But that 15 minutes, I can get something done. But
yeah, I was single for a long time, mate.
If I go back 10 years and I show these pictures when I talk, and I show sort of the person that I was, so I was struggling with my not only my sort of food and my addiction, and I was a little bit addicted to alcohol. I suppose that's a strange term, isn't it? A little bit addicted. I was reliant on alcohol.
Would you say it was becoming an addiction eventually, or on the journey?
No. It was a daily occurrence, and
so it's a crutch which is becoming addiction.
It was how I dealt with stress, and that's that's where I found myself. And the food was just. I mean, bear in mind that I've trained at an amazing hotel within the UK, so 5-star hotel, as a chef. I'd gone through catering sort of college. I'd trained as a chef. I'd gone on to run my own restaurants. I've worked with some amazing sort of, professionals in the catering industry. And I found myself eating out of trays.
Wow.
Eating ready meals from the local supermarket.
Yeah.
And feeding my kids the very same thing.
So you're producing food all day long, which is better quality, but probably carb heavy and sugar heavy. Still. However, you're not even feeding yourself properly.
No.
And Can I just ask you about that time though? Because I think it's important just to go through some points in your life, really. So why were things metabolically you weren't healthy, but also depression and all these other things happening as well? Would you mind just explaining what was happening around your life at the time?
So again, we talked quite openly about this. 2005, Louis, my youngest, was born. 8 weeks later, my wife Lindsay was diagnosed with a brain tumor. So we again, when something like that happens in your life, all the focus shifts to how to sort of, and we were given a plan. We were giving a 5-year plan. This is what's going to happen over the next 5 years for Lindsay, not realizing actually what they actually meant. That's all.
Interesting.
That's all that she was going to get. That's all that they were going to be able to do for her.
Wow.
Hopefully get her through 5 years. So, with operations and radiotherapy and chemotherapy, Lindsay got just short of 5 years. We lost her in 2009.
So was that almost like your thought process might be a 5-year plan to get her through this without appreciating it as 5 years until you say goodbye?
Yeah.
Wow.
And at the beginning, that doesn't sink in. That didn't sink in for anyone.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It only sunk in when it came round for the second time. So the operations and everything worked for the first, 18 months, so 2 years, and suddenly the reoccurrence of the cancer, and then you get told there isn't much we can do now. It's in a particular place where we can't operate. The treatment is going to be pretty much, it's just extending life. And at some point you're going to choose, you don't want to carry on with the treatment.
Right.
And that's what she did. She
what decision to make.
She didn't go back for the second course of chemotherapy because that was the effects of that were just horrific.
That's the thing. I mean, chemo, my wife's an oncologist, but so she, she has to use chemotherapy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's a clinical medical oncologist, so she gives chemotherapy mostly for things like renal cancer and that sort of thing. But she's doing a PhD at the moment in cancer research.
Wow!
But chemotherapy, from my experience with my own family, is barbaric, isn't it? And I'm sure one day there'll be way better medical options and preventions. But it is really harsh. So, in terms of you as a family, and I don't want to dwell on this too long. I know it's very personal.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
But when you went through the 2009 and losing her, what sort of parent were you? And how the hell do you? Because I'm just thinking about me now. If I lost Besma, who's my everything, I don't know where I'd even start. Because we're a team on everything, and now suddenly it all falls to one person. So how was that?
And It's funny because me and Lindsay were a team, but it was a 70-30 or an 80-20 because I was the one out at work and she was the one at home. And I had to give up, so my time at home was quite limited I didn't see most of Ella's sort of first, second, third year because I was out with a business, as we just talked about, it takes over your life.
Yeah.
I was out with a business on the road, and this was in a catering business, so we were out there trying to sort of like earn a living, and I was only home at the weekends generally. So the balance was very much Lindsay looked after home and I was out at work. But then when she got ill, and quite seriously in 2008, she had a brain hemorrhage in 2008. I had to walk away from the business, and it was the best decision I did. Best decision, because it enabled me to look after Lindsay for a year. We knew that was going to be, it was going to be a short-lived thing, but it enabled me to, and it was a bit of a scary thing, actually, become a dad.
Yeah.
Be there and become a dad.
Yeah.
And, and it did change me. Of course, losing a partner and having that situation sort of, happen, of course it's going to change you. When we lost her, obviously I was lost.
Yeah.
And as much as people can come around and you can sort of, you'll put up a bulletproof exterior. Again, men, we're complete idiots sometimes. Do you realize it took me 5 years to open my mouth about any of this?
Wow.
5 years of keeping it inside me, 5 years of actually sort of, that anxiety, that sort of depression.
Well, I was going to say, it's also not just kept in there, it's gnawing, isn't it? And it's chewing you up inside and it's hurting. But it almost must be, and I'm just talking it from a dad to a dad here. My daughter's 5.5, my son's 2. And I think to go through something like that, where you're trying to put on the brave face for your own kids, and it's like, we're going to get through this. And I guess, I don't know, if I was in that situation, I'd probably want to make out everything's fine, I can get through it. And I'm the infinite resource that can be squeezed and punched or whatever, as long as they're not, but then you have to be human and look after your own needs too, don't you?
Yeah. And I say it took, you protect your kids and you'll sort of, all sorts of stuff happened in the sort of few years afterwards, but you sort of protect your kids from as much as the feeling that they've lost the most significant person in their life. Because
at such a tender age, when you need that person.
Louis was 4, Ella was 7. So just think back to how you were when you were either 4 or 7. The memories are very short.
Oh yeah, of course. Totally agree.
There's not huge amounts there. So, it just took for me to realize, and these were days when you would take the kids to school, you'd close the curtains, you'd close the door, you'd then start eating. I wouldn't be drinking in the daytime, but I'd be waiting to start drinking, and you'd just close yourself away.
Yeah.
And it took a little while for me to realize that I can't do this to myself, because it was quite an oppressive sort of feeling in the house. It was very snappy.
Yeah.
I was very, very on edge all the time. And there is one distinctive conversation I had with Louis. He was probably 6 years old and he asked me for something. I have no idea what he asked me for. And I said no with an instant. And his face dropped and he walked off. And I suddenly thought, I bet Lindsay would have said yes to that.
Ooh, wow.
And that moment there made me realize that I had to be both parents, not one parent. And from that moment on, I have a Lindsay filter. Every time they asked me a question, Lindsay got to answer it first, and then I got to answer it, because dads are completely crap at making a decision like that. We automatically reach for the no response, because is it going to cost anything? Is it going to take some of my time? And it's like, goodness sake, what they actually want is a little bit of...
You know what? I just suddenly realised maybe Lindsay's response was more empathetic to what he needed, whereas maybe yours is more based on what you were feeling at the time.
Yeah, of course it was.
This is an extra hassle to what I need right now. Absolutely. That's a very good check to have, actually. I'm going to notice that myself, thinking, when am I responding based on my feeling, and when am I responding empathetically? Yeah, good lesson for life.
So I'm not saying it works all the time. He's 16, we have the occasional, and Ella stands on the other side of the table going, well, you two just, because we are very similar characters. And she's like, for goodness sake, will you two just have a normal conversation? But that's a dad 16-year-old thing. That's normal.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is.
Yeah.
So I love this. Right. So you've gone through that process and tough years. So metabolically, we know that you're drinking. That's going to have an impact on your health. But apart from that, what were you like in terms of that point in your life and health-wise? You said the mental health, but also physically.
But physically, I wasn't doing any exercise, and it hit me that I had to change something. And this is where most of us go when we sort of say, right, okay, I am, because at the age of 40, I felt like that was it. I felt like my life was pretty much done. I felt I had no more to give, and I would never succeed in anything. I just felt tired. There you go. I just felt tired all the time. I thought, what can I do? And obviously, the stereotypical thing is, I need to go to the gym. I need to get fit. So I was really fortunate. And, this comes back to sort of, why we do what we do. It's because somebody else helped me. Okay. Somebody else stuck their neck out 8-9 years ago and said, do you want some help? And it was a local gym guy. I wandered in there, no idea what I was doing, not a clue how to use a machine, no idea. Get on a treadmill and walk and go, well, I don't understand what everything else does really. And he sort of initially just started to guide me. He was never looking for any money. I was just a general member. And after a couple of months, he just sort of said, have you ever thought about doing it as a business, retraining? Because he knew my situation. He knew that I couldn't, I had 2 kids, primary school. So how do you find a job that fits in around 6 hours of primary school, Monday to Friday, all that sort of stuff. So he said, why don't you retrain?
Can I just ask you on that? Because I'm a gym guy myself now. I've been now 7 times in 4 years. But those 7 times have been in the last 3 weeks, mate. Okay. So to be fair, but, so in the last 3 weeks, I've been going back to the gym again. Nobody's approached me and said, you'd be a PT. I think more likely people are thinking, get off the machine. I need to have a go and build up my muscles even more. But so how would that feel when somebody says to you, not only you now work out, but actually have you thought about retraining in your career? You must be thinking, sorry?
I did. I was like, I said, have you looked at me? I mean, I was still, 16, 17 stone or something. Yeah. I really struggled 15 minutes on a treadmill. That would be about it. I'd have to, and that was walking, and then I'd have to sort of get off, get on a rower. That'd last a minute, and I'd be sort of, feeling like my lungs were coming out. And I was like, are you serious? And he's like, again, a similar age, he's got kids, and he's like, let's just see what you can do. And thankfully, it was a government sponsored sort of initiative. So therefore it wasn't costing him anything apart from his time. And actually that was it. So he's like, I've got, he said, I'm here anyway. I'm here. If you want me to if you want to come and do your course and you come into the gym and you work out and I'll show you how to use the equipment and we'll go through the books and blah, blah, blah.
Amazing.
I'll do it. And I was like, wow. So, I took that chance, and I sort of, that ignited another passion in me actually to get fit, because I suddenly felt better. Yes, the weight was coming off, but I felt better. I felt like I was achieving something. I felt like once I managed to do my first 1K on a treadmill, that was huge. Then I was starting to build up. Then the competitive edge comes in, and you're like, right, okay, so can I do 5K? And then can I do 5K in
the time limits,
whatever.
Change. Yeah,
and then then can I do?
So your purpose came back with a vengeance. I love that.
Just rushed back in. So when I sort of qualified from that, it was like, right, okay, so I've got to be able to, I can help people now with their fitness. I still wasn't talking about food at this point. And we've sort of been around this before, but it's my sort of, my confusion came back with nutrition at this point, because when I was left alone and when I started my journey, I very, very much switched to, and if I look back at sort of my meals, 10 years ago, you used to get your get your smartphones and you were starting taking pictures of your food.
It was novel then, wasn't it?
It was completely
Now it's boring.
It's completely weird. Anyone taking a picture of their dinner now. I'm not allowed now. Believe it or not,
to.
Yeah, Dan, we're not allowed to touch food in this house until it's
photographed. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah,
Ella's walking around with a light and a shade and
you're like, I'm just hungry. You got another hour yet?
And
Louis
Louis
is cold and photographed. Yeah.
Louis like, can I mix it in yet? She's like, leave it alone. I've just spent 10 minutes getting that angle right. But anyway, if I look back at my pictures of what I was eating when I was just getting into it, I'd gone properly low carb. I had gone all the way down the lines of, and my favorite meat is lamb, and my favorite veg is broccoli, and there you go. I just put the two together.
That's the perfect meal for me.
And do you know what I used to also love, and I still do now? And I thought, oh, this is really naughty. I used to get goat's butter and put it on my lamb.
And you thought that was naughty, and now you know that's good. Yeah, I love that.
That's what I was thinking. Well, I'm just going to sneak this on the plate and have that.
You know what, Mark? That's so like me because I used to eat the fat off the chop when I was a kid. Because we used to have to cut it off, and it'd be sat on the plate taunting me. So I'd be like trimming off the edges. So mine was always about a good half or third shorter than everyone else's by the end. And it's really weird when I came across actually the science behind keto and what ketosis is. And I realized that's what I've been wanting to eat all the time. And if you just naturally found your own groove, a lot of us probably would find with low carb and keto because we want it. Our bodies need it.
Do you know what? That is absolutely spot on. What you just said there, finding our own groove. Yeah. And we talk about this a lot because what we do, what you do, what any of us do in the low carb keto world, we're not selling a diet in a box.
Yeah.
It's not packets of shakes or pills or potions or space food or anything like that. We are trying to follow some basic principles and understand that we all have these slightly different tolerances, requirements for protein, tolerance for carbs. And there isn't a set number. There isn't a set scale that me and you could follow and both succeed.
Completely agree. And not only in terms of the macronutrients, but also in our desire and our addictions as well. Because I know some people can tolerate a little bit of flour and be absolutely fine.
Yep.
I can't go near the stuff because I will want it again. If on the other hand I had potatoes, which I don't have because they're carby and I just don't need them, but I also don't desire them either, I could probably eat spuds once and then not think about them ever again. There's definitely something with me that I've learned about how I work, which makes my addictions come up.
And that's probably where most people struggle. I get it daily. Can you just tell me macros? I don't know what your macros are going to be. I can give you a guide as to where they might sit, but I can't tell you what they're going to be because I'm not you, and you have to work this out. So are you a 20 and under, or are you a 30 and under, or can you get away with 30 and above? Yeah. Who knows? I don't know that until we know a bit more about your history and you've actually gone and done a few tests on yourself. How much protein do I need to eat? Well, I don't know that. How much is going to make you feel good? How much makes you feel bad? Because if I eat protein late, do you know what? I don't sleep. Yeah, I eat the majority of my protein early in the day. I've already had it. So we're 12:30. I've already had what would be essentially my main protein meal.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if I eat it later on in the evening, I just don't sit comfortably overnight. You know, that's what we need to find out for ourselves.
But isn't it interesting how, I just think when you're talking about how it's so individualistic, I know two brothers who are completely opposite in terms of their metabolic rate and everything else. One puts weight on by looking at a pizza. The other one can eat whatever he wants. Now they're brothers who have got fairly similar genes, and yet they're so different. Yeah. So why is it we think ourselves individually the same as everyone else, follow this plan, and we'll get the same results? It doesn't work like that, does it?
It's nonsense. But yeah, so going back to where I was, and sorry about that, but I'd gone low carb, but then I started to do my training. And obviously, as part of the fitness instructor course, you do a nutritional course, and you go through all about the macros again. You understand about the Eat Well plate, and you start to sort of talk about how do you help your clients understand better nutrition to lose weight.
Now, let me guess. Is this where it all goes wrong? Because, okay, so you're basically telling me, if I just want to sum this up for people, so you're getting your fitness sorted out at the gym, you're getting that in place, you're naturally finding yourself going low carb, and now the dangerous part, you're now going to formally educate yourself in nutrition.
Yes.
So I could see a car crash waiting to happen.
So Dan, this is the second time I've done this formal education, though.
Right.
Don't forget that back in, I mean, I know it's prehistoric, but back in the late 1980s, when I was at college, we went through, and I've still got the books. I've still got my college.
When you were training to be a chef, I suppose.
Because obviously you learn about macronutrients. Obviously you understand the idea about sort of carbohydrates being the sort of primary sort of, ingredient, fuel source on the plate. Of course you learn about that. Now, you don't pay much attention to that when you're actually in a kitchen. It doesn't.
It's more texture and flavors, isn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly. But you still have to understand, you still get taught the food science.
Yeah.
So obviously doing it again as a fitness sort of instructor, you're coming at it from a different angle. Here's how you advise your clients to eat better. It says it on the Eat Well plate, eat a healthy, balanced diet. I mean, I used that B word earlier, but it's not balanced at all, is it?
No.
It's the other word.
It's like rude word.
and so when I sort of finished the course, and by the way, I've got those books as well, and I got 100% in my nutritional course.
No,
I got failure. I mean, my coach was like, "This is brilliant." It's like, yeah, I know. This is really interesting stuff, isn't it? I'm learning stuff again that I'd learned years and years ago.
And here's the golden mantra for, I guess, a lot of PTs. Now you've got this, you can tell or you can understand that all the people you're training are lazy and they're not doing what you're advising them to do. And that's why they're not getting the results. Because you can be rest assured you got 100% in this test.
Exactly. I know exactly what I'm talking about, and you're obviously doing something wrong.
Yeah.
But then here's the problem. I started putting weight back on.
So you clearly weren't following your own advice.
So I wasn't following. but I
you must be really telling yourself off. I'm telling you this. Why are you not listening, Mark?
I was clearly following all of my own advice because I was now training with clients, in those good old days when you could sort of meet up with people and train one-to-one.
So when you say training with clients, you are doing exercises alongside them to show them moves. So you're not just there with them. You are physically active.
I'm one of the active fitness instructors, not the inactive. I'm not a clipboard carrying fitness instructor. I apologize to clipboard carrying fitness instructors. I'm a mirror.
Right.
And I want a client facing me, and I want them to be doing what I do. And I want them to see that if I'm putting effort into their session, then they should be putting effort into their session as well. If I'm putting more effort into their session,
then there's a problem, But I was just going to say, so you're doing a workout several times a day?
I was doing between 30 and 40 hours a week.
Oh, wow.
And that would range from strength training, resistance band training, kettlebell training, and HIIT, and I run as well. Okay, so I do all of those things. So I've got it still in my app, my calorie counting app on my phone, to show that I was potentially burning between 3,500 to 4,000 calories a day.
Wow!
On average.
Huge.
And guess what? I was eating a deficit of 1,000 calories, and I was always hungry.
Yeah.
Starving hungry between sessions. I was always snacking. I was whenever a session ended, I would run to the house because my training facility is just at the end of my garden. I'd run to the house, I'd grab a snack, I'd run back and deal with the next client. And my weight crept up by at least a stone in the
Which is bizarre because you expect the whole thing is about you should be losing weight with those numbers.
I should be. Yeah. I mean, I've got a picture of me from about 2014, 15, where the weight, you could see the weight was creeping up.
Right.
And I couldn't understand. I was just frustrated.
Well, you must be. If anyone should not have any fat on them at all, it should be you after all that. And especially the advice you're following would dictate you wouldn't be putting any weight on.
And I was in and around my 13 stone zone again. And I thought, well, maybe this is just my natural weight then. Maybe this is just where I, sit, and I should just be happy with it. But I almost felt a fraud, actually. I felt a fraud.
That must be very hard to be out there saying to people, follow this advice, do these exercises, you'll be healthier, and yet you're getting less healthy. That's really hard.
Yeah. And it was, it came out, a bolt out of the blue. I had just a completely random conversation. And I am so thankful. And I'm going to send her this when you finally sort of publish this. I'm going to send her this because I am so thankful for what she said to me. So the lady in question is called Caroline Strawson. We were at a function. Someone was emigrating, and me and Caroline had known each other for a couple of years. And I sort of look at Caroline. She's super professional. She's a coach. And if she wants to sort of understand something, she will go and research the absolute nuts out of it.
Yeah.
She'll rinse it and then make a formed decision. And she came to me, she said, I've been following this, it's quiet conversation, I've been following this keto lifestyle. I was like, okay. She said, have you got any views on it, any opinions on it? I was like, Caroline, I've got no idea what you're on about. She said, I'd really, really appreciate if you could just have a look at it and tell me what you think. Now, about a week later, we were going away on holiday. We were going to Turkey for an all-inclusive holiday. The only holiday we'd had for about 4 or 5 years. This is me getting back on my feet and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought, I want to research this. I've actually got some time because obviously normal life is me client in, client out, client in, client out, looking after kids. They were early teens at this point. I was a busy dad. I didn't have time to sit down and do some research. I suddenly had a week of no clients and the kids. There's the sea, there's the sand. Go off and play. Leave me alone.
And I'm going to read a book and chill.
It wasn't a book. I got my lap. I was on the beach, Wi-Fi. I had my laptop. I was watching Tim Noakes. I was watching Robert Lustig. I was watching all sorts of stuff, and it was almost like there was this clearing above me. I was like, holy moly, what have I been doing for the last 2 years, 18 months?
Suddenly everything clicks.
I mean, we talk about light bulb moments, and I've had loads of light bulb moments while I've been sort of following this lifestyle. Those little breakthroughs, you think, why didn't I do that earlier? Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I trust myself to, I'll come to that in a second, but it just opened it up. And I do talk about this. As, when I talk to people, I was like, this is just opening up that rabbit hole. I said, I can show you where the hole is, but you've got to stick your head inside it now.
Yeah, true.
You've got to look down it and go, okay, because if you don't do the research yourself, if you don't, again, it's that confidence and being comfortable living this lifestyle, because there's always going to be somebody on the outside going, that's bad for you. And that's good.
You know what? Particularly the PT world, I'd imagine, must be tricky because we're all qualified in one way of thinking. Unlike the general public, we can have these conversations. But, when I spoke to the PTs at the gym, last time I was there 4 years ago, but I used to talk about low carb and keto then. Now I'm even more confident that I could go in there and actually hold my own on the science because they don't know it at all. Yeah. But back then I found it incredibly difficult because they'd say, what have you eaten today? I've not eaten anything. What have you drunk anything? I've drunk lots of water. You really should eat some carbohydrate before you come into the gym. And I'd say that's not, and I never say, no, you don't, because that's arrogant. I just say, no, not for me. Thank you.
Not for me. Thanks.
Because that's my choice. But they look at you like you're insane. You're going to damage yourself. So, and that's me just seeing them an hour now and again. So, but, you'd have to face that face to face. That must be very annoying. Okay.
But don't forget, if you nail your flag to a particular color and somebody says, you like blue, but I like red, so blue's horrible. I'm not going to sort of suddenly change just because you think red's good. I'm here. I'm here. So, and if I step away, it means that I almost have to admit that what I was doing was wrong, or I just didn't agree with it, or
It's interesting because the world's not going to judge you. It's only us who judge us.
But I think people are scared of that judgment. Yeah. I think, scared of other, it's no different to when we talk about it, when we start following a keto low carb lifestyle, the worst thing you can do is go and stick it on your Facebook profile. I'm doing this because you're going to get 100 different opinions. Are those opinions going to help you understand what you're doing? And are they going to help you make better choices? They're going to muddy the water, and they're going to create that anxiety in you that makes you think. I talk about cereal box nutrition, the way most people's understanding of nutrition is as they've walked down that cereal aisle. Because it says low fat, high fiber, cholesterol lowering and all these sorts of stuff.
These are salts,
these are all health claims that we're being bombarded with and have been for so many years, and most of us believe it.
Yeah. And you couldn't even say, I believe it because of this piece of evidence.
No.
It's a belief. And so it's based on just an assumption quite often, which you can't question.
Yeah. So most PTs will believe that what they've been taught is the truth.
Well, why wouldn't they? Yeah,
exactly. Because they just
normal.
pay thousands of pounds to go on their course.
And now they're the expert in that as well.
Yeah,
so how can they say, I don't know what I'm doing? Yeah.
Yeah. So I understand it, and it does take sort of a little bit of courage to sort of say, you know what, I no longer. Right. Okay. So here's where I stand. I've already had the worst experience of my life, and I've had the worst conversation I'm ever going to have in my life. Yeah, worst experience losing Lindsay, worst conversation telling the kids they've lost their mum. Okay? There is nothing that anyone can say to me that's going to make me feel any worse than those two situations. So if somebody wants to say to me that what I'm doing is that living the keto lifestyle is bad in whatever way their opinion works, that's their opinion and they can have it. I'm fine with that.
I can't believe how powerful that is. Wow. Yeah, that put that into context for me for sure. Yeah, love that. And actually, but you have got the bravery, but there, I think that's who you are, because some people I think would just keep going with the flow, whatever. But you remind me of Dr. David Unwin, somebody whose career is established on one sort of set of beliefs.
What a man.
Yeah, he's an incredible man. And then he has to say, you know what, I'm wrong. Let's rethink this whole thing. And
Tim
it's
Noakes.
that decision which is the most powerful thing.
Same thing. I love watching Tim Noakes' stuff. And when he stood up and got his book and went, please ignore what I just said. Ignore all that research that I did. And you go, wow, that's what it takes. So, people with that sort of stature to come out and sort of say, do you know what? We actually what's the problem? Yeah. What's the problem in saying I got it wrong?
That is the fundamentals of progress. It's just there, isn't it? Yeah. Saying for progress to happen, you have to leave things behind that are wrong. Yeah. So okay then. So you embraced keto from your trip to Turkey. You come back a new tanned man, thinking now this is going to be a change. And can I just ask, when you're in Turkey, did you start making changes to your health then? Or
I did.
Yeah, so you started straight away.
Although I found it, obviously being a sugar addict as I was, because I was fueling myself with predominantly, flapjacks and Ellie would have to remind me what I was eating back then. I was making. The cheesecake from Sainsbury's. I'd nailed 2 slices of that, sort of, as a part of my, carb. Well,
you're doing the exercise, so it must be fine.
Exactly.
It's like saying that's a bit like saying, and I know people do this. It's a bit like saying, well, because I've been at the gym, working out, I can have some cigarettes now. Yeah. It doesn't work like that, but that's the mindset a lot of us are in. So
I did start while I was out there, and I sort of started to sort of think about sort of the carbs. So I sort of, in fact, straight away stopped eating rice, pasta, bread, potatoes. Yeah, and the good thing was that at the hotel there was lots of fresh meats. There was lots of kebabs and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
fresh.
Good.
So it was great. That was the sugar was more difficult to drop. The desserts. You really sort of, you walk past the buffet table and you try not to let the hand go out and grab one, but it's quick sneaked in.
Did you have anything like sugar in your tea or sweet drinks?
No, I've never had sugar in
that
the
makes
tea.
It a lot easier then, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not a massive fan of sugary drinks either. I don't drink anything like that anymore. I've just moved so far away from that. Pepsi Max shouldn't be pushing a brand, but that used to be my sort of drink of choice. Yeah. But even those sorts of things now, I did a test on myself last year. Oh my life! The way your taste buds change after a few years.
It does.
They tasted vile.
Yeah.
That was all of them. I'm not picking on one.
They're all just as bad as each other. I just want to say that now. Bad. Yeah. There are other brands available, and they're all as bad as each other.
Just as bad. One thing that I did is I gave up drinking.
Okay.
Now, because I felt that was always going to lead to bad choices for me.
Yeah.
And I haven't drunk now for almost 4 years.
Interesting. I agree with you on that. I find, I've never been a big drinker at all. And about 10 years ago, I had a hangover and I was like, what am I doing? I don't want this ever again. And it was after about 3 pints of wheat beer, but it's quite strong. And I thought, clearly, I can't handle this, so why am I doing it? So I'll have a glass of red wine maybe once a week, but that's it for me. But I know there's other people who they drink and then they get the hunger, they start making bad food choices. It's a cycle, isn't it?
So this is the thing, we talk about lifestyle. My lifestyle doesn't include alcohol now. Now I'm more than happy with that. I don't feel like I miss out from it. I'm more than happy to sort of go and meet friends or, again, when we could, sort of restaurants and just, not drink. That's fine, and I think people now are more accepting of that. If you turn up and you're a non-drinker, they will, in most part, not try and force you to have a drink. Now,
I think you're right. I think it is acceptable now to not do that. Yeah.
However, here's the weird thing, isn't it? You turn up as a keto low carber. Do they also accept the fact that you don't eat carbs?
That's a shocker. You're going to kill yourself. Yeah. Well, can I just put that in another way? So Yvonne, who was on the show before, she said, if I was at work and we had a can of Pringles passed around and maybe a tub of Celebration chocolates, again, there are other terrible brands out there, nobody ever would even say anything about that. That would be normal. It's Christmas, it's Easter, it's the second Friday of January, whatever the excuse is, it's fine to eat that stuff. If you eat the fat on your meat or if you fast, oh my word, you're going to do yourself some serious damage. And it's really on its head, isn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah. We were having this conversation last week because as we come out of lockdown and people now start to sort of go and, visit family and go for meals out and that sort of thing. And it's like, how are we going to deal with, because if we've not been out for a year, but for the last year, you've been now following a different lifestyle, you turn up to a family occasion, you may be a different person as in the way you look, you may have lost some weight, you may sort of feel happy about how you feel. And also your eating habits have changed. They're not going to understand that.
No.
And the term that most people will say, well, it's only one. It's only a piece of cake. What's a piece of cake? But you wouldn't do that with an alcoholic. You wouldn't do that with somebody that's got a drug affliction. You wouldn't do that with a smoker. You wouldn't say, have the thing that.
Just one anything isn't bad, but it never is one. That's the thing, isn't it? Just one cigarette's not bad, so let's just give them out to everyone.
But it's our choice. It's our choice to sort of say. But the issue is that we feel sometimes uncomfortable saying, I don't do that. I don't eat them. I don't drink that. I don't smoke that. That's, because you don't want to upset somebody.
Yeah. And I think also there's a social currency involved with food that we understand.
Oh, massively.
It's not just fuel. It's also it's what you're saying about the appreciation to the person. It's about sharing kinship. It's about community and coming together.
Yeah.
And if you say no, it's almost like you're saying, I don't want to be sociable with you.
I don't want to be friends with you.
Don't want to be friends with you. Exactly.
I don't want to be friends with you.
And of course, it shouldn't be that because it should be a choice. But actually, one of the things I like about you is that you're actually giving people food choices which are delicious that you wouldn't feel like would be a specialist niche diet, but rather is real food.
Right, there you go. And this is where, so if you I think that I may have been led by the people that I obviously read and researched at the beginning. So when you read the stuff that Robert Lustig talks about, when you read the stuff that Tim Noakes put out, it's about real food, real meal revolution, real food, not processed. And if you can connect with real food, if you can, again, we've sort of disassociated ourselves with that first aisle of a supermarket because most of our shopping happens on aisles 3, 4, 5, 6, all of those processed packaged that have got a nice little label on them telling you how healthy they are, yet you don't find a label on an avocado or a piece of chicken. And we get confused by it because there's no label on it, so I don't understand what it is.
Yeah.
And we're trying to connect people back with real food because what we eat within the keto low carb community isn't special food, it's real food.
Yeah. It's how we've been evolved to eat, actually. It's more that's essential to humanity than actually what we're eating at the moment.
And that's how we try to sort of bring this as a family approach. Both of my kids, and they're not kids anymore, they're bloody adults now almost. Both of them have lived this lifestyle for over 3 years.
Yeah.
And for me as a dad, and again, you'll feel this as a dad, for me, knowing that Louis at 16 years old isn't hooked on sugary drinks, sweets, junk food, he's not hooked on any of those things. And in fact, if he was to come into the kitchen now and make some food, he would be picking from sort of real source protein. So it'll be chicken thighs, it'll be meat, or it'll be, eggs. And he'll be making it himself on the stove behind me here. Yeah. And that's it. He'll go and eat it.
So if he goes to university one day, or certainly when he moves out, he's going to be set up for life. And you also think how much his health is going to be better when he's in his 60s, 70s, 80s. If he's starting, and your daughter as well, this early, my goodness, what sort of older age are they going to have compared to what they could have?
And again, we understand, and we know the issue of the metabolic syndrome, and sort of like, the pressure that's coming down through the generations with the pace of ill health coming down through. We're dealing with sort of like people in our group that are sort of, diabetic at the age of 20, 30. People with
wow.
I've got plenty.
So sad.
And it is. And we just don't understand why. Oh, they don't understand why when it happens. They don't understand why. So that's coming down at us, and we're trying to push upwards, sort of saying, look, you can change your lifestyle, and by changing your lifestyle, you can get those years back. Because all that's going to happen, you end up on medication at the age of 30 or 40 years old and remain on it for the rest of your life, like you would with type 2 diabetes, are all of the conditions that you get afterwards, all of the issues that you get following that.
You know what? That's the debate that should be had. Instead of talking about lifespan, it should be health span, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because the way I want to live my life is healthy as long as I can, and then I die at an old age as a healthy person who just comes to the end of their natural life. Yeah. That's what you want, isn't it? Rather than you kind of limp for decades.
Limping along without any
miserable life.
Do you know what I was in a workshop last night, and one of the questions, how important is exercise to keto? So that was the question fired at me. Now, obviously, I'm a fitness instructor. I'm also, so exercise is important to me because, I know how it makes me feel. And I said to keto, exercise isn't important at all, because it's not. But to your longevity of life, for your mobility, for your mental sort of well-being, guess what? Exercise is massively important, because if you don't exercise, if you don't use what you've got, if you don't use your core strength, if you don't use your upper body strength, if you don't use your legs, guess what? You're going to lose the use of them.
Yeah.
How many people do we know that was, and again, plenty in the groups, that sit in a chair and they can't push themselves out.
Yeah.
They can't get up the stairs.
That's becoming younger as well.
Yeah. Mobility is how we stay active for a long time in our, into our 70s and 80s and 90s. My idea, the reason why I do what I do now, sort of stay fit, is that when I finally do, get free of having 2 teenagers in the house and I can go and travel, I want to go and do it as a 60-year-old or as a 70-year-old.
But also, don't you think that when we were younger, 60 to me seemed like an old age. Now it doesn't at all. Now I've just turned 40. I'm like, 60's not that far away. And my parents are in their 60s. Oh, actually, that's not old at all. That's quite young still. And I kind of think of myself now, and I think, and it's more of a personal thing, but I think I don't want to be an old person who's just like an ill person. Those two things have been the same in my head. Yeah. But actually having a full, like sex life, a full active life, all these things that it is to be human, why should they be compromised when you get older? And I kind of realize that more and more as I get older, that you want to have a healthy life in every part of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I said at the beginning, I've been working for myself and within business since the age of 22. So I've spent, the majority, because I'm now 50. So I spent the majority of my life working, most days. I haven't taken big chunks of time off to go traveling. I want to do that when I'm, when I'm able to, when I'm free of the kids and they've got their own sort of, lives and all that sort of stuff. So for me, sort of that, I don't see 50 as old. I don't see 60 as old.
And can I say, for those who aren't watching this, he doesn't even look that. So to be fair, you look way younger than that.
Literally, I was 50. Like, it was a month. In fact, it's a month ago today.
No, it's in 10 years. Come on, don't lie.
Yeah. I wish. But here's the thing. Do I feel 50? Of course I don't. Because I don't know what 50 feels like. I feel how I feel. I feel as though I've got energy. I feel like I can do more now than I've ever done before.
Yeah.
I feel different to how I did at 40. Absolutely. Do I feel more positive about the next 10 years? Absolutely. Have I got bigger goals for the next 10 years? Absolutely. Because I now feel like I can actually achieve them, because I've got through the worst of what I consider to be, what life can throw at me.
Yeah, but more than that, you've also worked out how you work. That is the most important thing.
And actually, this comes back to where we were on a beach in Turkey, watching Tim Noakes and Robert Lustig. I found this 4 years ago, and 1 week away of researching and just starting that learning process, and then to come home and go, right, okay, here's what I need to do. So I ditch the carb, knock the microphone over, ditch the carbs. And I start to focus more. On, and for me, it became an interesting thing, because it's like, actually, I do enjoy cooking. I do enjoy getting in the kitchen. I just lost the passion previously. Yeah. So it was sort of like, right, okay, so what can I start making? And guess what? And you've done it. You type into Google, Keto. Okay, so what do I want? I want a pancake. And you go, hang on a minute. What's all this American rubbish?
Yeah.
What's a cup of something? I'm like,
yes,
I don't work in cups.
Yeah.
Is it this size cup? That doesn't work for podcasts.
Is it a cup or a mug?
It's like I don't understand it. But what? I thought, okay, I do get this, and I can understand this because I know what measurements are. So I started to sort of like, just look at recipes. And again, it was like one of those little light bulbs. It's like, okay, I get what they're trying to do here. Yeah. And that was it. That was the beginning of me just doing my little trial. Yes, I got a result. And I talk about this because some of us will get an immediate result, and many of us won't. And again, it's sort of not looking over the fence and going, well, how come they get that and I don't get it? I got a 22-pound loss in 8 weeks. That's great. That's fantastic. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know people that have lost way more than that in 8 weeks, or they've lost way less than that in 8 weeks. And I probably sit right in the middle. But for me, the change in appetite was striking, as in the amount of time, because obviously, don't forget, before I went on holiday, I was eating 6-7 times a day because I was having to fuel myself for all of my exercise sessions. Now, a couple of weeks down the line, I was not eating during the day. I was maybe having I was still eating breakfast, bacon and eggs, pancakes, that sort of stuff, but I then was training all day and then eating again in the evening. And I thought, this is strange how I've now got more energy, but I'm eating less food.
And it must make you better as a trainer, because you're not digesting when you're literally just working out.
You just got used to it. It's like I've run prior to keto, I'd run I think 5 or 6 marathons, all as a carb burner.
Yeah. And
you get used to having to take food out with you. Gel packs and just anything like jelly babies, that sort of stuff. Anything to get the energy back in. I was used to doing that. So in my own facility, a quick sort of, because you could cram in a lot of sugar into a very small flapjack. You could cram in huge amounts of sugar. So it wasn't big stuff, but sorry, the dogs are now running around behind me. They keep bringing in outdoor toys, and Ella keeps sticking them back out. We have this rule that we have indoor toys and outdoor toys, and right. they try and bring the outdoor toys in the house, and we're like, no, but Ella's trying to be quiet. Sorry,
no problem at all. No problem at all.
But it was strange that during that changeover process, I felt the way I was eating changed. So I felt more in control. I think you understand that, and anyone that follows sort of like keto low carb understands that suddenly you don't feel, were we ever hungry, or were we just responding to sort of massive blood sugar crashes? Because that's that's where we mostly are when we're sort of feeding our face full of carbs. But the light bulb moment for me, and this is where it really sort of took off for me, was I set myself a challenge. I'd never put myself down as a competitive person, ever. People think I am, but I'm quite happy to play a game of sports and lose. It's a game. I'm quite happy. However, I said to Ella, I need to do something I need to do something with this. I need to see what I can do. Now, I'd not run a marathon for a couple of years. I'd kept getting injured and it just wasn't working for me. I know what I'll do. I'll run a marathon. No, I won't. I'll run 2. Sod it. Let's run 3. So in the space of 8 weeks, I entered the Barcelona Marathon, or to run in 8 weeks, I entered the Barcelona Marathon, I entered the Manchester Marathon, and I entered the Milton Keynes Marathon. And there was 8 weeks from start to finish. I had 4 months to train or something like that for it. I've done marathon training before, and it's hard work, and you have to go out in all weathers in the winter and all that sort of stuff. And as anyone starting out on a keto low carb lifestyle, and if you go and exercise like running, cycling, you see a massive dip in your form in those first few weeks. It felt like I was carrying concrete around in my shoes.
Really?
Awful. Because I'm not fully adapted yet to the lifestyle. Yes, I'd lost the weight. Yes, I was feeling better on the short term exercise. But you start to go out to try and run for 2 hours or 3 hours, and you just feel like you're trying to drag an elephant around. It's like, what is going on? Where's my power gone? And it did take about 8 weeks of me running these consistent 8-10 miles, and I'm thinking, I'm getting nowhere. I'm really struggling with sort of like understanding why I can't get my pace back to where it was previously, all that sort of stuff. And then suddenly it just seemed to click. I don't know why. I don't know how. It just clicked. And I used to go out on a Sunday morning, and so the long run, we runners always leave their long run for the weekend. Sunday morning's about the best time to do it, because then you can put your feet up for the rest of the day, hopefully.
Yeah.
10 miles, 1 week. Yeah, great. 12 miles, 14 miles, 18, 20. And I walked in, I think it was March of whatever year it was, 2018, might have been 18. And I'd just done 20 miles. And it had literally thrown everything at me in weather-wise. I'd had hail, I had snow, wind, the whole works at me. And I walked in, and I was like, Ella, I feel amazing. I have just done 20 miles. I don't feel like I've run anywhere. I just feel like I feel full of energy.
Isn't that incredible?
And it just, that for me, the light bulb there was like, I can run a marathon without carb loading.
Yeah.
And I rocked up to Barcelona, breakfast, scrambled eggs and avocado. I had less than 20 grams of carbs for the entire day. I mean, it's laughable, the advice that gets given out by marathon.
And also, how many people, I mean, obviously not how many exactly, but was a high-ish proportion of people who were overweight on that marathon because they were carb loaders? Or certainly not the healthiest.
No, certainly not Barcelona.
Right.
I'll say different for Manchester.
Yeah.
Our British marathons, they seem to treat more like fun runs sometimes.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah,
okay.
charity runs, whereas the Barcelona one was a little bit more serious.
Yeah. I suppose Wombles haven't got the best figure, have they? So.
But
okay.
for me, that was the light bulb. And it was crossing the finish line at Barcelona, having not consumed any real form of, carbs. I mean, 100 grams of avocado, what we're talking about. So, that was me going to the marathon, running the marathon in one of my best ever times in the heat, and recovering almost instantly.
That's amazing.
Stairs are your nemesis if you've just been out running. Get up them, you might get up, but coming back down, you just think, oh, no, I can't. I don't trust my legs; they're going to collapse underneath me. Yeah. And yet, for me, the recovery was almost instant.
I love that. And I also love the fact that you 10 years before then been doing your marathons younger, you think fitter and healthier, and now you're doing it without the carbs and you're doing it much quicker and much more effectively.
It was
amazing.
It was everything. It was how the whole thing felt. Going as a carb runner, I would be stuffing bagels on the way down to whatever marathon it was I was going to run. Those last emergency carbs to get them rammed in, carb loading the day before, carb loading on the journey down, turning up to the start line going, oh, right, okay, I'm going to start running.
I'm bloated here.
I feel like I've gained loads of weight, but I'm going to, it's okay because I'm going to run it off. And now, and the way things have moved on, over the last couple of years. It took me a couple of years to trust myself to go out running in a fasted state. And now I've done, I don't know how many half marathons as a completely fasted, in a completely fasted state. I do all my running now fasted.
I know, which is how we would have eaten for run for millions of years trying to catch our prey. You don't get lions who go in and start snacking up and carb loading to go and get their prey for the day, and then halfway through their hunt, they suddenly start to take their little gel packs and flapjacks, and they finally get the kill to then go and go on a drip.
I think again, we all have to do this little test on ourselves as well. It doesn't work for everyone, as in, going out running fasted. That's, and it takes some time. But for me, I've done the trials on myself. I've done it. Can I eat a couple of hours beforehand? How do I feel? Do I run when I'm in an 18 or a 20 hour fast? How do I feel? And can I run at the end of a bigger fast, 40, 50 hours? And I know where my comfortable spot is now, so it's like, I've done the tests. I know what I need to do.
You know how you work. You find your groove.
And I know now that, because this is just, it's same for any of the endurance sports. You never do something new on the day.
Yes.
If you're rocking up to a marathon, you want to, or a half, or whatever it is, a triathlon, you want to have tried and tried and tried. Everything you're going to do right there and then, you want to have tested the bejesus out of it. Well, I know I can just rock up to a half marathon now and go, I've tried all of this before. I know exactly what I'm wearing. I know what, I know what I'm carrying with me. All that. I know exactly. I know what to be eating beforehand. I know how to recover afterwards.
Amazing. That's great. Now, can I just ask, because I'm aware of the time, and I just want to talk about Keto Fitness Club, because we haven't even started on that yet. So do you want to tell us what you're doing now? And also, because this is the other thing, people are going to want to follow you and watch your videos and everything else after this as well. So it'd be good to talk a bit about what you do at the moment, and also where people can find what you're doing to check out your content. Right.
We're pretty much Keto Fitness Club on every channel you can think about. I don't deal with any of the socials side because I'm not a teenager and I don't understand them. I had Instagram taken off my phone because I don't know how to post a picture.
Okay.
not allowed it. Keto Fitness Club on pretty much all the socials. Do you know what? We started this, and the whole purpose of what we do is to help people through that process, just through this initial. We've got lots of people that stick with us for sort of, have been with us for 3 years now, but a lot of people just need a helping hand for, a few months until they find their rhythm, find their groove. We talk about it all the time, get the basic principles, understand, get the scare tactics, all this, there's the brainwashing that's happened with us over the last 30, 40 years. Be with a community that sort of can help you understand maybe as a different way. Get your rhythm, and then great. If you want to stick around and help new people, then fantastic. But if you then sort of go, right, okay, thanks very much, Keto Fitness Club. I've got this nailed. I'll see you in a few years when I've, happy and healthy and all that sort of stuff. So we just try to sort of help people understand. So with the recipes, UK recipes using UK ingredients got from UK supermarkets. It's as simple as that.
I love the way that you're not enslaving people to a program for the rest of their lives. I mean, let's not name names, but there are a few dietary programs out there that really, if you're not doing their dietary program, you're not losing weight. And as soon as you finish it again, then you need to go back to it in a few years or a few months because you put the weight back on. Whereas this is setting a trend for you, for your life.
For me, the purpose is to help people understand that they can create their lifestyle. You don't create a lifestyle by carrying a phone around and scanning everything that you eat. You don't create a lifestyle by having a diary of foods that have got a point
and counting
system. Counting those points. That's not a lifestyle. You want to sort of have a basic, a good understanding about sort of what your body needs, nutritional wise, and you want to understand when you go shopping. You want to sort of know what the key elements that, in those foods are. So, understanding that, yes, chicken can come in a processed and in an unprocessed form.
Yeah.
So which one is going to be best for you, the processed or the unprocessed? Well, the one that's sort of closest to nature is the best one for you.
Yeah.
The one that's closest to nature won't have a label on saying it's been made to low fat, or won't have a label that's saying it's
healthy for you.
It's healthy for you. Yeah. The one that's closest to nature will just look like chicken.
Yeah.
So, Keto Fitness Club has changed over the last couple of years because people have just needed a bit more sort of support. So we focus on 3 elements. I'll put it this way. We focus on 3 elements. Movement, getting people active. This is, can you go for a walk? Can you go for a cycle? Can you go for a swim? Can you do something that actually will help you stay mobile? Mm-hmm. Macros. Understanding that we have only 3 options of food. We have carbs, proteins, and fats. What are they going to do? How are you going to choose from them? And what's going to benefit you? Because again, we know these tolerances. So let's understand a bit about macros and mindset. We have got years and years of abuse from the weight loss industry to get out of our head. They have been telling us, and this is directed squarely at weight loss and fitness industry, they have been telling us that it's our fault that we can't lose weight and we can't get fit. All the while pushing the idea that a calorie is a calorie, and it doesn't matter where you get them from, just cut them down and just go to the gym to lose weight. I tell all of my community that if you go to the gym, you go in there to gain something. You're not going there to lose anything. You're going to gain your health. You're going to gain your mobility. And if you go to the gym with that mentality, you will get a lot more out of it. If I tell you, Dan, that you're about to lose something, you're going to go, no. I'm going to keep that. No.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose anything. None of us like to lose.
Yeah.
You want to gain. You want to gain.
That's just a positive journey. Love it.
It has to be. It has to be. Otherwise, you can't live a negative lifestyle and get a positive conclusion.
Yeah, totally agree. That's great.
So when we started, it was just me talking about food, and I'd managed to help a couple of family members with their diabetes. Get them off the medication. It was Lindsay's mum. It was just great for me because it was sort of like it was something that I could do. It just made me feel good, obviously, to sort of see that Jean sort of looking and feeling better. But then it seems to have spiraled now because we do struggle with the way we think about food, the way we think about ourselves. It's my fault I've gained weight. It's my fault I can't do this. It's my fault. And it's like, hang on a minute.
And it also leads to the sort of behaviors of a bit like you were saying, locking down your house before. I think we can do that in ourselves. There's the psychological thing, isn't there, of thinking, well, I put on weight and it is my fault and it's a personal responsibility. So I'm going to cover up a bit more.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to wear the clothes that I really want to. I'm not going to go out to opportunities I want to. And the confidence gets knocked. And then we try and pretend to ourselves we didn't really want those things in the first place. We didn't really want to have the beach body. We're not beach people. We'd rather go and do something else. And there's a whole negative cycle that happens because it's all based on blame at the beginning.
Yeah. And I guarantee that, we've all done it. We've sort of said to ourselves, well, you've done that again. You've eaten that again. You're useless, or you're stupid. You shouldn't have done that. You made
a value statement about you as a person based on a choice. Yes,
I guarantee true. If I was to walk up to you, Dan, and say, you're stupid, you've just eaten that, you'd have every right to smack me in the face.
Well, be very upset, yeah.
But we do it to ourselves on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Because again, we failed rather than looking at the advice that we've been given and thinking, actually, was that right? Was the advice right? We've trusted this, hands down. And I talked about this last night. Who signed up to the nutritional guidelines? Anyone? No one. No one signed up to them. No one signed up to them. They were just put in place. You weren't given an option. Well, you weren't alive.
Yeah. That's true.
I remember the changeover. I remember going to the markets with my mum with a shopping trolley. This is in the 70s, and getting all the fruit and veg. There was no processed food. And then I remember going in the 80s when Shopping Giant, which was our first supermarket in Manchester, that one, and suddenly, guess what's on the shelf? Lots of convenience food with health labels on it. There's the changeover that no one signed up to and was implemented without.
And it happened to us, and then we're paying for it ever since.
Yeah, of course we are. Yeah.
So, okay, so Keto Fitness Club then. So where are you online? Your YouTube channel is called Keto Fitness Club.
Yes.
You've got Instagram as well, you said. You go there.
Yes.
Where else? What's the other touch points?
Facebook page is where you'll find me mostly. So
Right.
we've got a free public Facebook page, again, Keto Fitness Club. I think it's called public group, page and group. But come to the group if you want some support. Then come to the group, because that's where we've got lots of. There's like 12,000 of us in there now. I would never have dreamed of having a community that big when we started 3 years ago. So it is based on support. Obviously, no medical advice is given out, because that's not something we talk about. Food, we talk about, making better choices. So come to there, because that's where we're able to. Yeah, we love to share pictures of food, but we like to sort of help people understand. Because there are things out there on supermarket shelves that pretend to be shortcuts, which replace nutrition.
Yeah,
if you're buying,
you can.
yeah, and it's like, no, it's let's understand. But we sort of talk. We'll give people an understanding about a product rather than sort of say no.
Yeah,
there's no point just saying no.
They're going to make their own choices. They've got to be empowered, haven't they?
Right.
Completely agree with you on that.
Yeah, so this is the point. If you say to them, okay, that this product has got X, Y, and Z in it. So for me, I wouldn't choose it, but that's now down to you. You know what's in it. It's up to you what you want to choose, how you want to live your life. I think Facebook, and that's about it really. Ella's looking at me now. YouTube, Instagram, yeah, there you go.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah,
go and check them out.
We've also got a website.
I was going to say, do you have a website? Yeah, okay, you got a website as well. Brilliant.
Do you know what? I completely forgot about that one. Do you know what? The website in itself is where you can get all the free information. So there's
Wonderful.
a complete all of our recipes, 300 odd recipes, all macro calculated, all using UK ingredients. So there you go. Recipes
Wonderful.
there, and there's information there. There's the blog.
So can I just ask you a quick question? What was the name of the chap who first came up to you in the gym and suggested that you could be a PT in the first place?
It's a guy called Richard Boyle.
Richard.
He's a local guy. Yeah.
So you got Richard, then Caroline, and now you yourself. This is what I love. Those conversations are so powerful, and they've been the turning points in your life, by the sounds of it, with Caroline and Richard, and you've then gone on to other things. But I love the fact, Mark, that you now yourself are that person of influence as well, and you're now taking it out to more people. So there will be people, I guarantee, whose stories will include your name in it because you have changed their life.
And we see this. Just if anyone wants some inspirational stories, go to the website and go and look at the blogs. We've got so many people now that have transformed their life, and some people have been on a long, long journey. We're talking people that have been sort of like struggling for years and years, and over the last sort of 8 to 10 years, and then finding sort of keto lifestyle, they've managed to lose 8, 9, 10 stone. Now the weight is great, and the weight is always celebrated. But ask any of those people how they feel now, and it's life changing. It's not just the weight; it's people with getting their mobility back, getting
confidence,
getting off huge amounts of medication.
Yeah.
That's what makes people feel better.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for that, Mark. That is inspiring. And I think, as I said at the beginning, this is a story of hope, how somebody can be in a situation which we did not wish on our worst enemy. We didn't wish it on anybody. And yet you've turned that.
Look, we all face
people.
Yeah, we all face challenges in life. My life is no worse than most of the people's. Stuff has happened, yes, and you deal with it. So, as much as people look at what has happened with us as a family, and they might sort of think, that's a shame. It's happened. Yeah. And we've just learned to deal with it, and we've actually grown from it as well. Ella's trying to get the dogs to shut up.
Dogs are heckling.
They're going nuts in the garden. But it's you say about sort of a story of hope. We are happy. We as a family are a happy family now. It took us a while to get there. We are happy to be able to share what we do with the amount of people that we do. That fills us with a great deal of satisfaction when people post in the group or they send us a message saying, thank you for changing my life. And I'm like, all I did was share a recipe.
Incredible. Well, you've done more than that. You've inspired me today for sure, Mark. And thank you to you and your family for everything you do. And I'm going to check out the group. And also, anyone who's listening, go check it out. I'm sure there'll be loads there for you. Thank you for coming on today, Mark. It's been lovely chatting to you. And can I just ask now, can we please chat again in a few months' time and see what you're up to? Because I'd love to hear more of your story.
Whenever you're free, mate. I mean, I'd love to, if you're sort of saying you've been to the gym in a couple of times in the last month, when we can.
7 in 4 years.
Okay. I don't know. We don't live a million miles apart from each other. I will make a point of coming with you to your gym one day.
I'd love that. You can mirror in front of me and I can see how I should be doing it. Because actually, I know we're going off into actually my gym workouts here, and this could take another 50 minutes. But actually, I do want someone to spot me on the barbell and stuff, because I'm doing resistance training now, but I don't want to hurt myself.
Yeah.
And I have done that before, so I'm going to be really careful to get my strength up first a little bit before I do the other weights where you're kind of compound movements.
Yeah.
For sure.
Add into your workouts lots of body weight stuff. So as much as sort of getting on a bench is great and lifting weights is great, the best thing for you to build your confidence and build your strength is going to be body weight. So get face down on the floor and start pushing your body off it. In various forms. It's one of the safest ways. It'll fatigue you pretty quickly. So you'll actually sort of start to see results quicker.
Right, I get you.
Yeah,
perfect.
You'll see you can do 10 press ups tomorrow. You'll be able to do, or next week you'll be able to do 20 press ups, so 30. You can see that progression quicker than you can by using heavy weights on a barbell. And
you also can't sort of trick yourself into thinking, I'll make it a bit lighter today, because unless your body's lighter, it's not going to be lighter, is it? So I like that. That's good.
And use a timer. Don't use numbers. Use a timer. Set yourself. I've got a timer. I do all of my workouts to a timer. So you do 30 seconds. Do 30 seconds. Do what you can. Don't worry counting. Just do 30 seconds. Do 30 seconds. Because the more you do, the more you'll get into those 30 seconds. The fitter you get. You don't have to count. You won't have a target. Just use a timer. It'll change the way you exercise.
Love that. Well, thank you, Mark. You've given so much today. Brilliant. Have a great week, and thank you for coming on UK Low Carb today.
Thanks a lot, Dan. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.